Giddy up. The Edmonton Oilers, the trade winds are swirling. And according to David Pagnotta of the fourth period, it is Jake Walman who is going to be the newest Edmonton Oilers. So giddy on up. We are starting pre-gaming early. You're going to get 35 minutes of Tyler and Liam in the evening. And then we're going to throw it to Bordsy and Coombsy. 90 minutes of pre-game talk. And, of course, it's trade talk because we have breaking news. David Pagnotta of the fourth period tweeting it out. Initially, he had the report, and it sounds like Elliot Friedman is on it as well. The Edmonton Oilers and San Jose Sharks linking up in a move that will send Jake Walman to the Edmonton Oilers. Again, nothing finalized yet. This is all reports right now, but it sounds like Jake Walman is going to be the newest member of the Oilers. You're probably going to get me repeating myself a few times here as we welcome more and more people into the stream, but I'll be honest, and I'm waiting here when Liam pops on. I'll bring in my boy Liam too. Liam and I talked about him today, and I think we've both been very, very high. Liam, bring him in. I want to see my boy. This is his guy, Liam. We talked about Jake Walman today. We both said he's a guy we would love to see in blue and orange. And hey, if you ever needed more proof that Stan Bowman watches the show, come on.
Yeah, this is a good trade for the Oilers. Obviously, like you said, one we spoke about for a while. I think even dating back to when the Oilers first played San Jose. What was that, before Christmas? Spoke about Jake Walman being a good option. He just seems to make other players better. So I'm a big fan of him. I'm very curious to see what this return is. I honestly have no idea. I know you kind of speculate like maybe a first is in this. Is cap retained? Does that keep it lower if it isn't retained? The one thing we know is if the Oilers, if this becomes official, which David Pagnotta, obviously a good reporter, then Evander Kane isn't coming back to the playoffs, which is a huge thing. And to me, that also suggests that Stan Bowman probably isn't done because what's Jake Walman? I think 3.4 million or whatever that is. So yeah, it's this is a huge move for Edmonton. Someone who obviously wasn't on many trade boards, and I think many assume maybe isn't available. But also credit to Mike Greer. Get in Jake Walman for future considerations, and then whatever this return is going to be, it's credit to him. He's done a decent job there in San Jose. But yeah, what an addition he would be for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, let me give everybody who's just tuning in sort of the Coles Notes breakdown on who Jake Walman is. 6'1", 218-pound defenseman who is 29 years old. The contract details obviously very, very important this time of year. $3.4 million this year and next season. So if the Oilers do end up parting with, say, the 2026 first-round pick, something you and I talked about a lot, Liam, is if you're giving up that pick, it has to be a guy who a year from now you can point at and say, you know what, we don't have a pick at the 2026 deadline that we can use, but we have this guy helping our team right now. So I love the fact that Walman comes with term. I love the fact he's $3.4 million as well. He comes with not a ton of size, but 6'1", 218 is definitely respectable. Walman, after starting his career in St. Louis, really broke out as a member of the Detroit Red Wings the last couple of seasons, was playing top pairing minutes with the Red Wings next to Moritz Seider, and the two of them had a lot of success. Seider really grew with Walman as his partner this season so far with San Jose. Walman has continued to be productive, and it's basically all even strength points as well. He is tied for 19th amongst NHL defensemen in even strength points this season. That is tied with the likes of Dougie Hamilton. That's more tied with Hamilton, Shabbat, Chychrun, Pionk. That's more 5-on-5 points than guys like Hanifin, Pietrangelo, Brandon Montour, Mikhail Sergachev. He comes in and is instantly a guy who changes Edmonton's blue line, Liam.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's a really, really good addition. He can play. I think he has a natural left shot, right?
Natural left shot, but has spent the bulk of this season on the right side.
Yeah, and that's the same when he was in Detroit too. So yeah, this is a good addition. Again, we're still waiting for what the return is, but obviously you can assume he can go up and play with Darnell Nurse on that second pairing. He's also a guy that has logged big minutes over the last couple of years as well with both San Jose and what was his other team, the Detroit Red Wings. So again, like if you look at, obviously tonight it's a bit of a drastic situation with both Ekholm and Klingberg out, but like just looking down the road, if this was to happen again, you have another guy who can play legit top 4 minutes, who put it in there, based Ivy, minute muncher, exactly what Jake Walman is capable of doing. This is an exciting player, and I'm sure he'll be a big addition to the penalty kill as well, which is very needed at points.
Yeah, so Jake Walman averages actually a decent amount of penalty kill time, 133 minutes in 49 games so far this season. So he's a guy who can penalty kill. I mean, again, I'm not going to sit here and bullshit anyone and tell them that I've watched a lot of Jake Walman on the penalty kill, but just looking at the charts, looking at the numbers, he's an above average penalty killer. Maybe not truly elite or anything like that, but he's going to come in and be able to help this team on the PK. And Liam, I mean, we had Tyler Ennis on today, and we were talking about what is the archetype of defenseman that you think works best with Darnell Nurse. We've seen him with a guy like Tyson Barrie, and he had some amount of success. The two of them were the Oilers' top pairing and went to the conference finals. Barrie was a puck mover. Nurse's numbers take a nosedive with Cody Ceci, a guy who doesn't move the puck well. When did Darnell Nurse play his best hockey in the playoffs? With Philip Broberg on his side, a puck mover. So I think Jake Walman is the exact type of defenseman that the Oilers needed. I think this is a guy who's going to absolutely bring out the best in Darnell Nurse. And again, 23 minutes a night on the San Jose Sharks and only a -1. I'm, plus minus, call it archaic, whatever. That in a vacuum to play 23 minutes a night on a team that is by far the worst team in the NHL as a top pairing defenseman and be -1, crazy respectable.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny, isn't it? Because Rasmus Ristolainen has been someone people have thrown the Oilers' way, and he's just like the complete opposite. I know it was a few years ago when he was in Buffalo, but to be a -44 when the next guy is -20, it just tells you the kind of player they've become in that stage. And this is obviously a positive side of it for Jake Walman. So yeah, I'm excited. A lot of people obviously know him for the gritty celebration here. Tyler, a fellow grittier, you're probably very excited to have him in town. You want to give us a whirl?
If I could possibly stand up in this incredibly tight setup that I have in my basement studio, I would. Yeah, just again, I'm reading some of the reaction to this online. Let's talk potential return, Liam, because that's always a fun game to play when we're doing this and we're trying to figure out what they could or couldn't be given up. Lance, we appreciate your super chat saying cup year. This is the kind of move that gets me juiced up and excited. If it is the 2026 first and nothing else, I am willing to call this a massive, massive dub for the Edmonton Oilers, especially when you consider, take a look at the deals we saw today, Liam. Brian Dumoulin goes for a second-round pick. He is older. He is worse. He does not move the puck as well, and he's a rental with no term on his contract. If you had to go and give up a first-round pick, it might seem steep, but I'm telling you, it is a good deal for this team to be making.
I agree. I think so. And obviously the extra year on his deal may help things as well. And prospects involved, I wouldn't expect to see O'Reilly or Akey unless it's already come out. I know someone just threw that in the chat, but I would assume it's not. I don't think it'll be any of those guys. At most, I could see Petrov, maybe someone like that. Maybe they have one of those unsigned guys again in Russia that they want to give off. Also, one of the European guys they have. I don't think they have any other like legit college prospects right now that they have unsigned. Obviously, Matt Capone, I think he's at BU or BC this year, 7th round pick. I don't see him holding much value in this, but again, like I think whatever prospect they give away in this, if there is one, as long as it's not one of obviously Akey or Savoy or O'Reilly, I think the Oilers did a good job in this.
Here's what Jay Fresh has on Jake Walman. He has him as an 83% defenseman, which is very good. He said he's an offensive defenseman, has a big point shot, loves to use it, good puck mover with a nice stretch pass, can be a bit turnover prone, not particularly physical, has had an impressive season, all things considered, as San Jose's #1 defenseman. Jason Greger had our good friend Drew Remenda on his show to talk about it. And here's what Remenda had to say. He said he's been their best defenseman all year. He has improved his play. He gets back to pucks quicker than he did before. He can PK, was on the power play, has a bomb of a shot. He is physical, blocks shots, and has really improved his play, Remenda reiterates. So, again, we'll see what the cost is. Like, if it goes from a first to being a first plus O'Reilly, then I change my tune a little bit, and I go, you probably gave up too much. If it's a first and Akey, I'm wincing a little bit, but I think I'm still maybe going like, that's okay for me because you're getting a guy who's going to help for multiple years. If it's a first and a mid-round pick, I think this is a great deal for Stan Bowman. But again, not only are we waiting on the return, we're waiting on this deal to be official. So if you're just tuning in, we're dealing with early reports from both David Pagnotta and Elliot Friedman that the Edmonton Oilers have acquired Jake Walman from the San Jose Sharks. Again, maybe a guy not a lot of you are overly familiar with. 29-year-old defenseman. He actually just turned 29 about 2 weeks ago. 6'1", 218-pound left shot defenseman that can play the right side of the ice. And that is the big one here, Liam. You know, we've talked before about you can get a lefty and just move Brett Kulak over, and Brett Kulak's looked good, and he's done that for a lot of time this year. I also think there's no denying that Brett Kulak and Ty Emberson are a much better duo, and Brett Kulak's much more comfortable on the left side of things. So again, I think this is we don't know the return yet, so we can't call it a slam dunk win yet, but just purely on the fit, I really, really like this move by the Edmonton Oilers.
It just helps shift everyone down, like you said. Like the Kulak and Emberson on a third pair is just much better. Like I think Kulak obviously getting a ton of praise recently, and rightfully so. He's played fantastically, but he had a tough night the other day against the Anaheim Ducks when he was pushed up the lineup just too far. You know, they played him too much in the top four and asked him to do a little bit too much. So just Walman able to balance things out. And again, like if you do face a circumstance or you don't have an Ekholm or a Darnell Nurse in the lineup, it can just help things out very, very easily. I was kind of looking and I couldn't find the exact stat that I found earlier in the season, but Walman played a lot with Cody Ceci when Ceci was in San Jose, and the numbers for Walman, for Ceci without Walman, just like drop off so quickly. It just shows the kind of level of defenseman he actually is. Like on the ice with Ceci, they were over a 50% goal share. Without Walman for Ceci, they were down at 34. And I know San Jose isn't exactly like filled with all these great defensemen, absolutely, but he really, it can be a game changer when push comes to shove.
All right, a couple more things just as some people's takes online start coming in on this. Dom Lucision, who is the analytics guru over at The Athletic, says Jake Walman has been a bright spot for the Sharks this year. A bit of a surprise to see him move, but a great get for the Edmonton Oilers. His projected rating will be a lot lower without his power play time, obviously, but this is a very solid second pair guy who could potentially crush third pair minutes. And I think he's going to be the second pair guy on the Oilers. I think him and Darnell Nurse are a very, very good match. And again, Liam, this is something and a guy we've been talking about now on the show, Oilers Nation Every Day, for a couple of months now. And we spoke about him again today as we were doing the Mario Ferraro thing, and his name started to get more and more out there. It was like, Ferraro seems like a guy who would fit, but Jake Walman, just because of his ability to flip and play the right side, his puck moving ability, and how good that could fit with Darnell Nurse, I really, really like the idea of Jake Walman. You know whose take we should get on this? Jason Demers.
Yeah,
I'm going to text him.
Probably a good guy to ask. He has come on and obviously, I believe, said positive. I think he said like it seemed unlikely they were going to move. That was, I believe, before the Four Nations as well. I'm not trying to call him out on it, but it just shows the valuable piece San Jose probably thought he was, and evidently still do. If I'm assuming the value is going to be good back for him. So I wonder. Obviously, are the Oilers going to get someone else in this deal too? Like, do you think there is a forward? Like, obviously, Luke Cunningham was someone who Jason Demers said to us before, $2.75 million cap hit. San Jose also doesn't have any salary cap retention spots, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like, I was lucky they don't have a lot of guys. Obviously, as our UFAs, RFAs. Do you think Zetterlund, or is that too much?
I like the way he says his name. He goes, Fabian Zetterlund.
Yeah.
That's not connected to anything. But people, okay, well, let's talk about the numbers side of this thing a little bit, because someone said who's got to go out the door for this to work. So again, Jake Walman coming to the Edmonton Oilers, potentially, that's the rumors right now, $3.4 million and one more year on the deal. When you load up Edmonton's Puckpedia page, $3.7 million is their current cap space with Evander Kane on LTIR. So I think the Oily accountant you just dropped in the chat said this clearly means Kane is 100% staying then, right? It means Evander Kane is either getting traded or he's out till the playoffs, and I don't think they're trading him. I think they're going to, again, you would have just had the Kane trade ready to go already, and this would have been bang, bang, done. So If Jake Walman is being told he's coming to Edmonton and Evander Kane is still an Oiler, I think you can assume Kane will be out until the playoffs.
And we can also assume Kane is definitely not in this deal back to San Jose.
Why?
And a layer of this, if this isn't Kane not coming back until the playoffs, then you would have to assume Jeff Skinner is out of the door one way or another. I would think, and obviously I'm just purely speculating, but spoke about this earlier too, like a guy who has now been healthy scratched 8 times, not fitting in the plans. He's a left shot. Trent Frederick is a left shot. Evander Kane is a left shot. Like, you have to wonder if it's getting to a point by tomorrow at the trade deadline, which would have less than 24 hours away, obviously, probably, 19, 18, something like that. You would have to think that Jeff Skinner might waive his clause, no?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm really.
I don't know either. It's the Skinner thing has been such an interesting thing in this, but like Sergeant Battle said too, like Skinner being scratched for Max Jones is crazy on just a variety of levels. Obviously, the fan base thinks he's more valuable than the Oilers claim he is, but also it's crazy to think that Jeff Skinner hasn't played up to a standard that Max Jones is taking his spot for the night.
Yeah. So again, we have not heard, and just to the people in the chat who are getting a little bit worked up, we have heard absolutely nothing about the return. Mm-hmm. All we've got, I shouldn't say absolutely nothing. Peg Notice said whispers of a first-round pick, but someone said, again, hopefully it's not Matt Savoy. I'm telling you, they did not give up Matt Savoy for Jake Walman. That would be an incredibly dumb thing to do, and I don't think they're going to do that. I really do believe this should be as simple as a 2026 first-round pick, maybe a mid-range asset as well, but again, even anything more than the 2026 first would really surprise me in this deal. And assuming Kane can stay on LTIR the rest of the year, the Oilers have the money to make this thing work. So it honestly, considering the fact, so $3.7 million in deadline cap space. That's with 8 D-men on their roster, 2 goalies and 13 forwards, Liam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 13 forwards. So when they activate Trent Frederick from IR, they're going to send someone down, presumably Max Jones. That'll free up a little bit of space there. And then when you bring on, assuming, again, this deal gets done and all the reports are correct, Walman comes in, and then you would take Dineen and potentially another name off your roster, then you're sitting there with still enough money to go add another depth forward if you wanted to.
Yeah, like probably we kind of saw this last year, right? When they went out, or the year before. Was it last year? Yeah, when they got Troy Stetcher kind of later on, right? Someone who just a bit of added insurance. I would like them to actually aim for someone who could play on the roster in a forward spot. I'm not sure exactly who that would be off the top of my head, but someone who can play third, fourth line, like guess an equivalent to Max Jones if you're just looking for a little bit more than that. Ryder says in the chat there, give me Donato. I don't know if the others would have the assets now to potentially trade in their first and a second round pick, but hey, if you want to go all in, and Ryan Donato's not a bad option by any means. But John Klingberg, obviously no movement clause if they wanted to get a little bit more money out the door. But I really do believe the Oilers are pushing to get as much depth as they can. Obviously, we saw it the other day with Travis Dermott making a return back. They obviously have Josh Brown in Bakersfield too. They clearly have some value in Cam Denis playing at the NHL level. And I feel like I'm missing Derek Ryan, of course, Noah Philp, a couple of guys as well played in the league. So I think they might just want to keep growing that depth, but also too, Chris Knobloch as stays, like they're struggling to score goals right now from their lower end guys. So there's a few options they could go, but I don't think this Walman deal is the final move Stan Bowman will make.
I'm less confident in that. I really do think a forward and a defenseman might be all we see from the Edmonton Oilers, and part of the reason why they're maybe calling up Max Jones and starting to give him games already might just be because they kind of know they're not doing anything else. I know you just mentioned, maybe a Fabian Zetterlund to get them some more scoring. They could certainly afford him and fit him in. Outside of that, I don't know how much more there really is on the San Jose Sharks that I like. I mean, hey, listen, not to get too crazy, if you're putting guys on waivers, Kapanen and eventually Jones as you acquire guys, You do technically have the money for Klim Kostin.
I was just gonna say, do we bring back Klim Shady? Vinny would be pissed. Just getting traded. You know, I saw that yesterday. I saw that trade yesterday, obviously, and I thought to myself, so you know what, like, if Pittsburgh at the time, obviously this isn't happening because the trade happened, was like, hey, Edmonton, would you take back Vincent Desharnais for, and we'll take 50% of his contract, give us a 4th round pick? 100%. I actually value Vinny a lot. I think he was a bit underappreciated in Vancouver. It can be difficult to go to a market and win them over, especially when you come to such like a big rival team. But yeah, Vinny would be someone I would welcome back. Klim, hey, he was a good Oiler for that one season. Obviously, shouldn't say I think. We're pretty certain that he regrets moving on from Edmonton and would love to come back and play here. I think he would pay half his salary, to be honest, to come back and play in Edmonton. So it wouldn't be a bad addition. I just don't see it as a realistic option, unfortunately.
Still just kind of
sorry, just one thing. Ty Dellandrea, does he tickle anything for you? Right shot centerman, 24 years old, 1.3 million with 1 more year left on his deal too.
I don't think so. I don't really know enough about the player. Like, I'll be honest, all I'm doing right now as you bring up his name is I'm going to Natural Stat Trick and seeing if he can kill penalties. Dellandrea, hey, well, he was a pretty highly regarded
first round pick.
Yeah, first round pick of the Dallas Stars, who the Sharks ended up getting for a prayer. I could honestly, I would assume the Sharks want to hold on to a guy like that. He scored 1 goal in 513 minutes this year at 5-on-5. And he kills about a minute of penalties a game. I'm probably good on that. I mean,
I guess you can just call up Noah Philp and say 500,000 or whatever the difference is.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Ty Dellandrea really doesn't do it for me. 1 goal in 49 games. There's yeah, I'm good. Okay, what else do we got going on in the chat? Mike Greer doing us a solid. Once an Oiler, always an Oiler. Again, I'm not overly concerned about what the potential return could be here, Liam, but I don't think this is going to be like, wow, Oilers robbed him kind of thing, but I think this will be a fair deal if it ends up being a first round pick. If there's anything more added onto it, then I'll start to maybe raise an eyebrow to this whole return. Again, if you're just joining the chat here, the title does kind of say it all, but reports are swirling that the Edmonton Oilers have acquired Jake Walman from the San Jose Sharks. He has 1 more year on his deal after this one and comes with a cap hit of $3.4 million. A guy who's been handling top pairing minutes for the San Jose Sharks so far this season, can kill penalties as well, plays a little bit on the power play. Obviously, that would likely go away here in Edmonton, but a guy whose strengths are definitely moving the puck and playing that sort of up-tempo style of game. The downside to him, maybe not as physical as some people would have liked the Oilers' top defensive addition this year to be. But again, I think this return isn't going to upset a whole lot of people. I love everybody in the chat just throwing in random stuff as well.
Awesome. I was out of curiosity because someone just threw it in there. Jay Gonzalez. Do you think this trade helps the goaltenders play better in Edmonton? One thing that obviously Walman is good at is blocking shots. I just went back and locked in. Also, too, like, just to preface, like, when you play on a team like San Jose, you're blocking more shots than you would on the Edmonton Oilers because you never have the puck. We obviously saw that when the Oilers played San Jose earlier this season. Jake Walman has 111 blocked shots so far this season. Tyler mentioned it earlier. He is -1 on the season, which when you play on San Jose, that number is pretty impressive. 32 points, 56 games. I think he will help them. Again, you're not going to have to play a Troy Stetcher or a Klingberg or even push Emberson into a top 4 role on a regular basis. Maybe every now and then they get caught out there for sure. That's just the way the game is. But yes, I think Jake Walman will come in and help out massively on this team. So 111th, that would put him like top 35 in the league, somewhere around there.
All right. NHL Sid has dropped in his take. Liam, there's nothing I love more than when a trade gets made and I'm just looking at the charts. I'm like, I've barely watched Jake Walman this year. I know generally the kind of player he is. Again, we see him a little bit in San Jose, but I'm just all about reading the charts right now. Walman from NHL Sid is a solid 2-way defenseman with strong puck moving skills, an excellent shot, the ability to play both sides, and this might be important, a lot of experience against elite competition. He's had an excellent season on an awful team rush defending is a weakness, though. But again, maybe that's one thing that worries me about a potential fit with Darnell Nurse then, is that Darnell Nurse has a tendency to make some really, really bad pinches, and his partner usually has to defend on the rush quite a little bit. So if there's one downside to it, it's that. Again, not overly physical, but I'm not too worried about that. Again, a good puck mover with Darnell Nurse. We've been having this conversation for months, Liam. As much as everybody wants the big shutdown defenseman, and I liked the idea of Alexiak, but again, Alexiak probably would have been more like a lefty who you're then moving Kulak to the right side to play with Nurse, and it's Alexiak and Emberson. Like, I do think Walman just fits a little bit better into what the Oilers need on this blue line.
I do too. Can probably move the puck a little bit better than what Alexiak could as well. So that's a bonus for Edmonton. Obviously, when the forwards have the puck, these forwards the Oilers have need to get the puck a lot quicker than maybe some players would have got it to them. So yeah, I think he's a good fit. Still 28 years old too, like prime of his career, I guess we can call it. But yeah, that's a lot of blue on that chart. And as we've discussed many times, blue is good, red is bad. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, so we're seeing, again, Liam, let's do Tyler and Liam analytics on this. There's one.
Yes.
Can you flash that back up, Brett? I want to see it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 8 things on the board. 6 of them are blue, 2 are red. Jake Walman is a 6-2 positive player. All right, I'm in.
And also two dark blue, which very big. Seems important. I think a lot of people would agree in the chat. 99% on finishing, and the competition. 99% competition is pretty impressive too, to be honest.
Yeah, he basically plays tougher minutes than any other defenseman in the NHL, partially because he plays on the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, pretty much. Someone put in something in the chat just there too. What does this do to Alec Regula's minutes? Well, more private skates, I guess. Where is that man? We'll never know. He's the Ryan Murray of this team.
My back's fine. No, it's not. You gotta sit out, man. Your back is not okay.
There's a Stephen Ellis is in on the conversation.
Oh fuck yeah! Give me a little Stephen Ellis.
Okay, here it is. Oilers fans are going to really like Jake Walman. Period. There you go.
There you go.
That's what we're asking
Stephen
for.
Ellis.
Yeah, that's I'm happy with this deal. Obviously, we don't know what the deal is yet, but like the fact the Oilers went out, Bruce Kurlock also giving it, Jake Walman 3 check marks. So that's a lot of people seem to be enjoying this trade. Again, we'll see what the deal is. We have no idea yet. We're assuming again that it's a first round pick in the deal, which again is fine because Walman still a bit of term on his deal. So you're still keeping him on your roster. So I'm happy with it. We'll see. Hopefully they don't give up Aki or O'Reilly.
Yep. Again, if you're worried about Matt Savoy, I really wouldn't be too worried about that. Again, if they're giving up a prospect, I feel like Bo Aki is a guy who would make sense in this deal. But I also think a first round pick is probably more than enough to get this trade done. Someone says Walman better play tonight. Yeah, get this guy to Edmonton. Cam Dineen's all fired up. He's like, finally, I'm back in. First time in 3 years. Cam Dineen's going to get in an NHL game. Boom. 10 minutes before anthems, Jake Walman's through the door. Yeah,
that'd be a tough one for Cam Dineen, but hopefully he does okay tonight. I don't need a lot from Cam Dineen. I just need him to be on the ice.
Yeah. Do you think there's any chance John Klingberg's going back the other way and that's why he's not playing tonight?
Yes, I do think there's a chance, and I would not be upset if there was. Yeah. Just like it's really too bad for like the story and the player itself. Like obviously, John Klingberg, I'm speculating again that he might be in this deal, has had a fantastic career, and the last few years have obviously just not gone his way, not taking the money in Dallas, and then trips in Anaheim, Minnesota, Toronto, and now Edmonton. Like too bad for him, but hey, maybe going to a place like San Jose wouldn't be such a bad thing too, just to get away from it, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are going to give way in about 6 minutes here to the back to your regularly scheduled Oilers Nation programming. Aaron Bordato and Coombsy got pre-gaming with Bordsy coming up in a few minutes left. Liam, let's take one from the chat here. It came in on Twitter. It was Dylan who said, do you think they're done after this? If you needed to take a best guess on this bad boy, do you think the Edmonton Oilers are done? Or do you think Stan Bowman has one more move up his sleeve?
I don't think they're done. I don't think they can be done, but I don't know what it is. I think they might get a depth forward. I know there's like, obviously goaltending is a conversation. I think they might maybe get a third string goalie, which obviously is not going to impress many people. When it's like there's a goalie trading them and saying, and it's not John Gibson. But I could see them maybe going out and doing that. But they're in a very interesting spot because again, like they could call up Derek Ryan or Noah Philp and play 4C for them, both right shots and both capable of playing it in the NHL, especially Derek Ryan, a lot of experience, and it's not going to. Are we good?
Frank Saravalli.
Here we go.
Sounds like the Edmonton Oilers have some roster constraint issues tonight. In quotes, tonight's lineup was an adventure, and rosters expand after midnight tonight. So Edmonton is on their way to completing a deal to acquire Jake Walman, but may be some time before they can complete or announce it. So basically, the fact everybody's sick on the Oilers and they had to call a bunch of people up means they can't announce this deal officially until tomorrow.
Which is fine. What does it matter? You know?
Yeah.
Stephen Ellis is now in our chat. So that's big.
Stephen Ellis says, Walman is super skilled, defensively questionable at times, but if you pair him with someone who can clean up the mess, he can absolutely thrive. You know what? I'm really intrigued at the idea of, Liam. Let's get crazy. Are you ready?
Walman and Ekholm.
Bingo. Wow. That's why we work well together. I lob him up, you knock him down. Boom.
Well, like that
Nurse and Bouchard have really, really good numbers together. And if Walman's best with a mess cleaner upper, Ekholm is a mess cleaner upper.
I think too, Ekholm obviously is not playing tonight because he's sick. I just wonder if it would help him just for a little bit to move him around. And also maybe Ekholm and Walman can take tougher minutes. Like maybe that is your top pair. Like obviously we're assuming, well, my first assumption is before I said that was like Nurse would just bump up, but like maybe Walman and Ekholm are your minute crunchers, and then you have Nurse and Bouchard, of course. Or maybe Bouch and Kulak.
Nah, I don't like flipping them over. I like Kulak and Emerson as my third pair.
Interesting. Flipping
who
over?
Pardon?
You said flip him.
Kulak?
You said flip him.
I would not flip Brett Kulak. I like him on the left side.
I could have sworn you said that. Flip Yaremchuk. Thanks, my son.
Someone says, who's Jake Walman? Let me give it to everybody one more time. 28-year-old left-handed defenseman who can play the right side of the ice, has one more year on his deal at $3.4 million. He can kill penalties. He's not an overly physical player, but where he thrives is moving the puck. He is a skilled player. So there you go. The Edmonton Oilers have made a splash. The latest update is from our insider, Frank Saravalli, who says, sounds like the Oilers have some roster constraint issues. Tonight's lineup was an adventure, and rosters expand after midnight tonight. So Edmonton is on their way to completing a deal to acquire Walman, but maybe sometime before they can complete or announce it. Rosters expand at 10 p.m. Mountain Time tonight. So again, if you're waiting, I would assume, Liam, we will find out the return before then. Someone will leak that and get that out, although the Oilers have been pretty tight-lipped about some things this year.
They certainly have been. NMCs.
Yeah, but I bet you we find out the return in the next hour or so.
Can you explain for people who maybe don't fully understand that tweet from Frank and your co-host and like the expansion of rosters?
No, I really can't explain it.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, everyone.
I think it's just because like that's when a new cap day would hit.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. It's kind of like waivers.
Yeah, maybe. I think that. Yeah, let's go with that.
Sure.
We're the experts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
there you go. This is exciting. A good move by Edmonton. Again, I don't think the Oilers are done. I think they've got one more move in them. A lot of people, Bob Stauffer, Jason Gregor have said, is I think they'll make 3, and that doesn't necessarily mean like bring in 3 players. I think 3 separate moves. So maybe that's shipping someone out too. But I'm excited for tomorrow. This is a good deal. Good week so far for Bowman, I think.
With their current roster, once you send down Cam Dineen and Max Jones, with the Edmonton Oilers' current roster, they would have 13 forwards, 8 defensemen, including Walman, no Deneen, no Jones, and they would have $1.95 million of cap space, assuming Kane again is out for the rest of the year. So there is space if the Oilers wanted to make one more ad. They certainly could. Let's end it with a super chat from Bob Stauffer. Kulak and Bush look great and confident together in the past. Kulak could calm him down and they move the puck faster. Give me Ek and Walman. So there you go. $6.99 to the Ben Stelter Foundation. Thank you, Bob.